According to a New World developer, there is not going to be PvP servers at launch, and the reason they give is pretty interesting, and in this video we're just going to talk about whether or not they should or shouldn't be in the game. Now, a developer whose name appears to be Winswood, I'm not sure if that's like the nickname they chose and then they named a town after it, I don't know how that came about, but they basically say that they are not going to have PvP servers at launch, and it's because they don't want to develop two slightly different versions of the game. And he talks about how the people who would be playing the PvP servers would want updates targeting them, whereas that would be different from the majority of the player base. So they don't think that the majority wants this, and that may or may not be the case. Not that you care, but my personal opinion is that I would not play on a PvP server. But I would like to clarify and say, just because I would not necessarily play on a PvP server does not mean they shouldn't exist or that I would have anything against them existing. If they were no trouble to implement and the developers were happy to do that, I would more than happily let them do that. I wouldn't have any qualms or anything like that. It's completely fine. It wouldn't really affect me as long as the servers and the playstyle that I'm still looking for, which is what the game is promising, is still there, which it wouldn't take away from, then I would be perfectly happy. Just because I'm not interested doesn't mean that other people who want to have their fun a different way shouldn't be allowed. Now, in my head, it doesn't seem like it would be all that much work, but then again, I'm not a developer, and I think in this case we have to trust that the developers know more about developing the game that they are making than plebs like myself. The way a PvP server would probably work would be that all the towns would be as they are, in that you can't attack in them, but as soon as you leave the town you would just automatically flag. Obviously all of the PvP missions for like your faction would just become sort of not irrelevant because you would just always take them because you're always going to be flagged, but that just is what it is. Now, I think one of the main problems with it, which again, I'm not saying it shouldn't happen just because of this problem, I'm more than happy for it to happen. One of the main problems would be the faction imbalance, though. Let's face it, if a faction like the Marauders are absolutely dominating, like at a ratio of 4-1 or something like that, then the game balance is going to become and feel really, really weird because you're just not going to be able to play if you're a member of that other faction. If you look at the Burning Crusade Classic in World of Warcraft, then the faction balances on certain servers are going from, you know, maybe they were 55-45, now they're going to like 95-5% because people can't really hack it when you're completely outnumbered. It just becomes no fun because you can't really play the game. And that's actually the reason I personally wouldn't play a PvP server, is because quite frankly sometimes I want to come home from work, or if I've been working from home, log on onto the game and then just play the game casually without needing to feel like stressed out, or I'm going to get ganked or I'm going to be engaging in PvP. Sometimes I'm just going to want to not engage in PvP, and those times I will be thankful that they have a flagging system. And it sounds like that Amazon developers think that the majority of players probably wouldn't want it. Now, I'm not sure how they know that, but they have completely changed their game from a PvP full loot kind of hardcore game into one that is obviously now completely not that. It's now an optional PvP flag. You don't drop any loot and it has like PvP scaling, so really it's definitely not like a hardcore PvP game. As much as some players want that, some people really like that full loot hardcore PvP game, and quite frankly there are other games. This one might not be for you and it doesn't have to be for everybody. And if they make the game in a way that it wasn't for me, I simply wouldn't play the game. I would play something else. So if this is a little bit of a deal breaker for you and you really like that hardcore PvP stuff, then play the game, level, have fun if you want to, but don't. If you don't want to do that, then don't. The players who will enjoy the game will find the game and hopefully they enjoy it, and hopefully I'm one of those. But as I said, if they changed it and they said nope, all the servers now are like full PvP, then I simply wouldn't play the game. That all being said, as I said at the very start, if they were to implement PvP servers and they said, hey look, you can freely transfer to this if you want later on, I wouldn't mind. It's completely fine. Just because I wouldn't be the one transferring over doesn't mean that other people shouldn't be allowed it. However, if the developer is now saying that it would be too much work for them, they want to concentrate on other stuff, which is basically the gist of this message, then I think we have to accept that that's probably the case. They don't want to be concentrating on two slightly different versions of the games, and as they said, the PvP servers would obviously want changes that would be more targeted for them, and then how much of a difference does your game split? So this is obviously going to be a controversial issue. I think the people who are like myself, who are happy with the PvP flagging system, they're completely fine with this, and I think and hope that most people like myself wouldn't really mind if they eventually did implement PvP servers, as long as they didn't change the gameplay that you've been enjoying. That would be completely more than fine. But if you are a PvP player, then I do hope eventually that a a PvP server does come for you and they let you transfer over to that freely. I have no qualms with that, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. I think we have to consider that not every game is for every person, and this one may not be for you. The same way that Mortal Online 2 isn't for me. So, you know, I hope you guys find a good game, because it looks like New World is going to be good. And if it's not for you, fair enough. It's just the way things go. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.